Hi, welcome to the How Do I video series on Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013 R2. My name is Mark Brummel and I'm an MVP for Microsoft Dynamics NAV. I will be presenting how do I implement the number series pattern in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013 R2. This video is made in collaboration with Plataan, a Microsoft Dynamics Learning Center from Belgium, and Microsoft. At the end of this video you will have an idea on how to implement and enhance the number series design pattern in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013 R2. The objective of this video is to first look at the base objects and then how to implement number series yourself. At the end of the video we will make a modification to the pattern, but first let me explain design patterns shortly. Design patterns are common solutions or best practices to solve problems. This is a well-known concept in computer programming and can therefore be applied to Microsoft Dynamics NAV as well. This video is part of a series around design patterns in Dynamics NAV, and during this video I will reference two other design patterns and videos. In this video we will go to 4 easy steps. Step 1, Meet the pattern, is a short functional introduction to number series. Step 2, Know the pattern. We will look at the base objects, the engine code units, and how it's implemented in setup and master data. In step 3 we'll use the pattern in our own example application. And last and final, in step 4, we will enhance the pattern. What we will change is how to use number series across multiple companies. Let's start by a short functional introduction to number series. Number series can be found in Microsoft Dynamics NAV via the departments, administration, application, setup, and then general. Or you can use the search window. Here you can find all the number series that are defined across the application. Let's make a new number series. Within the number series we can have multiple lines and multiple relationships. In the lines we define the starting date and the ending date of a number series. These are optional fields. If left blank, the system will always use the number series from this line. The system also allows to create a warning and to use another incrementation than the default value of 1. Let's create another example and show how number series can be linked together. We do that by defining a relationship. Now the number series example 1 is linked to the number series example. Number series are set up in the different setup areas across the application. Let's have a look at the sales and receivable setup. Most of the setup windows have a specified tab for numbering, and within this tab you can find all the numbers which are related to this part of the application. Let's go to the items to see how this works from an end user perspective. We'll start by creating a new item, and if we do nothing, the number is used from the number series. Let's add another item, and instead of just using the default number series, we will use the assist edit, and then we can see all other number series which are linked to the default number series, and we can select other numbers, or we can manually define a number if that is allowed in the number series. Number series are generally used in master data documents, processes, and in journal setups. Let's look at how this works from a technological perspective. The number series design patterns has 4 parts. The first part are the standard objects. These are the tables and the pages that we use to define the number series, like we just saw. The second part is the API, the management code unit that generates all the business logic. And the last 2 parts are the other patterns that use number series, like the single setup pattern that we saw, where we can define the number series which are used, and master data pattern like the item table that uses the number series to define the unique values of all the records. Typically the engine and the base objects never change. This is why it's called an API or an application programmer interface. However, since the API is open source, we can change its behavior, which is what we'll do at the end of the video. We will look at the standard objects at the end of the video, but let's have a look now how the pattern is used in setup and in master data tables. To be able to do that, we will go to the development environment of Microsoft Dynamics NAV. Let's have a look at the sales and receivables setup table. In the sales and receivables setup table, we can easily see which fields are used for the number series. We can see that by the field type, and we can see that by the name of the fields. All of the fields which are used for number series are named by their use and the abbreviation numbers. For end users to be able to select the number series, we need to specify a table relationship to the table number series, which is part of the standard objects. And if we look at the page, we see that there is a numbering tab, and within the numbering tab we can see all the number fields which the user can select to make the application behave like he or she desires. In the example, we showed how the number series are used in the item table. Let's have a look at how that works under the hood. If numbers are used to create a unique value for the record, this is done using the onInsert trigger. The onInsert trigger is fired whenever a new record is created. And here in the onInsert trigger, we can see that using the inventory setup, the item numbers are read and the API is generating a number. Because from a functional perspective it's required sometimes for end users to manually define numbers, there is a piece of CL code in the number as well. Whenever the user decides to change the number, the system validates if the manual change is allowed from the system. And last, there is a function called assist edit. And this function is used from the user interface and allows users to select the linked number series. This function, because it's from the UI, is called from the page. Within the page, it is activated when the user selects the assist edit option. To be able to know which number series are used, each table that uses number series has a field that stores which number series it used. This field is typically numbered 97 or 107. It's important to use the right field number because in Microsoft Dynamics NAV, data across the system is typically transferred using the transfer field function, which heavily depends on proper field numbering. Let's take this one step further and use this design pattern in our own example application. We have prepared a sample of the setup design pattern and a sample of a master data design pattern, both used in the number series. The first step would be to make it possible to set up numbers series in the setup table. In our case, we're going to number examples. As we showed earlier, naming is extremely important to be able to quickly identify later that the field we are creating right now is used to specify a number series. We will create numbers for examples, so the field is going to be called example and then numbers, and we use a data type code with a length of 10. For end users to be able to specify number series, we need to specify a table relation. We can select the table from the list, or we can simply type the number for the number series table, which we saw on the previous slide, and press OK, and the table relation is set. The next step is to move the field to the setup, and when this is done, we can go to the setup and go to the example application, open the setup, and here we can select the number series we created earlier. If there are relationships between number series, it's important to always select the number series which is the highest in hierarchy, and from that number series the user can drill down to the relationships using the assist edit. When this is done, we can change our master data table to be able to use the number series. In order to be able to compile the table during each step, it is important to follow the steps in the correct order. The first step in this case would be to create the field that stores the number series. The easiest, fastest and safest way to do this would be to copy an existing field from a table that already uses number series. This way you make sure that the numbering is okay, the naming is okay, and the table relation is there. Because the code we are going to make depends on the number series field, and Microsoft Dynamics NAV does not allow us to directly start coding against a newly created field, we have to close the table and open it again in order to activate the field for the compiler. The next step would be to add the variables that are necessary for the code. In this case, we need a record of our example setup table, and we need a reference to the API. As with the field, we can copy this variable from another place in the application when number series is already used. The advantage of doing this is making sure that we use the correct naming. The correct naming enables us to easily copy and paste code from other parts of the application without having to change the variable names. For this video, I have already prepared the code snippets that are necessary across the different areas of the table. The first area is the onInsert trigger that creates the number when a new record is inserted in the database. The second area is the number field, where if a user enters a manual number, it is checked against the setup. And last but not least, we will create the assistEdit function that always has a return value of a type boolean, and we copy and paste the code which allows the user to select the number series from the assistEdit button. The last step which is required is to go to the example card and make sure the assistEdit function is referenced to the correct function. These steps allow me to go to the examples and to be able to create new records or create records from the linked table, or to check if the numbers can be entered manually in the system. In the last step of this video, we will enhance the design pattern for number series. We will do that by allowing the system to do cross-company number series. In Microsoft Dynamics NAV, it is possible to share data across companies. We will enable this for our example data table by setting the data per company property to no. Doing this allows the users to use the same data across all companies without having to key in the data for each company. However, since the numbers are created from the number series and the number series are not shared across the companies, we can only create new records in the company where the number series exist. Since the number series and their API is shared across the entire system, the solution to this is not as easy as sharing the number series across all companies, because this will affect all the references to the number series. However, if you analyze the architecture of the standard number series design pattern, it is relatively easy to make sure that the number series are always taken and updated in the correct companies. To be able to do this, you need to execute the following steps. The first step is to add a new field to the number series table. This field is called company, and in the table relation we will link this table to the company table, which is standard table in Dynamics NAV, where all the companies that exist are stored. And for the end user, we will add the field to the page as well to be selected. The next step is to make sure that the number series management API updates the number series in the company where the number series needs to be maintained. In order to do that, we need to find the function in the number series management API. We can do this very easily by reverse engineering from the example table. If we go to the onInsert trigger, we can see that the number series management API is being called with the function initSeries. If we use the function goToDefinition, we can see which code is executed in the initSeries. And here we can see that the new number is being retrieved from a function called getNextNumber. If we use the same function, we can see that in this function the number series are being read from the database and the magic has been applied to the number series line. So in this piece of code we need to make sure that the number series line are always updated in the same company, even though we are working from a different company. In order to do that, we need to use the function changeCompany. And we have prepared a little code snippet that allows us to do this. So let's copy and paste this code snippet. What this does is, based on the fact that company is populated in the number series, it changes the company of the variable for the number series line. So whenever I use number series from a different company, I always make sure that the number series line are correctly updated. So let's save this and see how this works from an end user perspective. We have done this video from the second company, and in the second company we have done the example setup and the example number series. And we have created a number of examples. So let's now go to another company within the same database and see how the example are set up in this database. If we go to the examples, we can see exactly the same data as in the other company because the data is shared across companies. However, if we go to our setup, we can see that the example numbers are not linked to the number series and that the example numbers do not exist. This is because the number series are per company only. So let's go back to the administration and create a new number series. For the sake of simplicity, let's call it example 2. But rather than specifying numbers, let's link the number series to the second company in order to execute the code we just created. So let's go back to the example and link the example numbers to the setup. And now let's see what the system does if we create new record in the examples. So the number is updated and created without having created a number series in this company. So let's create a couple of more examples, and all the examples are created. So let's see how this works in the original company. So we go back to our example application, and we can see that we have the same examples because the data is shared across the companies. And if we go to the number series, we can see that our code change has worked because the number series has updated the last number used of the number series in the original company because of our code change. In this video we have met the design pattern for number series. We have had a short functional introduction and we have seen how the pattern is used in the standard application. We have used the pattern in our own application by adding setup and master data variables. And last, we have enhanced the number series design pattern with a very small but safe change in order to use the number series across multiple companies. Thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in another episode of the How Do I video series for design patterns on Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013 R2.